following concept is going to change your mind completely if you approach to it right. Add effects. Effects that you wouldn't normally add. Literally take random ones from the audio effects list. If you want more point of views, imagine that Ableton is a video game, a sandbox game, like Minecraft. Nobody tells you what to do, you can do whatever you wish, a house out of dirt or floating island with waterfalls. Take it as a clear piece of paper which you can draw on as you want. So sound design part could, for example, look like abstract painting. So we take random colors and put them in different order and with different amounts and blendings. Exactly as we can do with effects, processing. But try to even do it unconsciously. I mean, don't think of it. Just do it and see how it sounds. If you don't like it, add more. Change settings. If you still don't like it, refer to point 5 of our course and think of what this sound could fit into. Then just stop for a moment, think and change stuff consciously. And that's really easy explanation of that. Since you do random stuff, see how it turns, and then do normal, proper processing and sound design. So what can we need? We need a synthesizer, for example, or a sample, as we'll do, and audio effects list, which we have right here. Also, you can use your plugins, but we'll stick with audio effects list, since here are pretty much everything you will ever need to make advanced hit song. So my friend recently bought a new car, and new is way too much said. So he had it for a while, and first time he took me for a ride, he could not launch it at all. And that's when we thought of sampling this sound. I of course didn't sample it, that's my bad, because after that it started to launch properly. But overall I found this sample of old Polish Fiat on internet trying to launch, and here's how it sounds. And this is literally this sample that actually goes on and on and on. So I had no idea how to approach this sample, so I just loaded it into MIDI. That's what I usually do with samples. I just load them into MIDI and see how they sound when I play really high notes. Maybe change the sustain. This is what I would do as first. I really like this thing here at C0, I think. So I first off thought that it could be a cool ADM build-up effect, but I tried it as well, but it didn't really fit into anything I could think of. So I just stayed with simple MIDI playing. So as our concept says, to use completely random stuff on some sample, right? So how I would go over this, I would just take random presets of random audio effects here and add a lot of them. And this is how it sounds now. We can add even more stuff here. So we got this thing, but we can turn on the swirl. And now we could, for example, use completely hard EQing like this. So we now have some shaker effect. Now we could add maybe an arpeggiator before it all. Take off the sustain. And maybe play with some controls. And now we could maybe add another equalizer. Like this, with scale up to 200. And now we could add a proper reverb. And as you can see, now after I've added completely random stuff that provided me with completely new sample that I never would thought of, now I can actually think of what could I add to this sound to make it sound cool. Okay, so we came up with really nice shaker loop, and after we write some MIDI information here to make it playable, freeze the track now, add a new audio track, and we've came up with this thing. Now we can add some finishing EQing and maybe a fast sidechain here. And we can consolidate it and loop it to make a loop out of it, and hear how it sounds like some dark shaker texture. Maybe some compression on it as well. Right, so this is only one from infinity examples how you could make your amazing soundscapes, textures, loops, and every time it could go different. Now you could even delete the sample and take random one from here. Right, and this is infinite since you can now get rid of everything that you have here and take new sample and apply new audio effects on it. This looks actually pretty good. If we complex pro it. And actually, to recap something that we've already done, we can get rid of everything that we have here since we don't need it anymore. Take a loop sample like this one into slice mode. And this is extra pro tip from me to load loops as MIDI in slice mode and use it as your own drum machine. Alright, cool, but how did I came up with the actual post idea? So let's turn off those guys here and focus on this thing here. So I literally have this in MIDI as we loaded at the beginning, and I've loaded reverb, delay, OTT, and overdrive as the overdrive here, and I had something a little bit sounding like this, but it was too raw for me. So what I did is forgot about any sound design rules and took a EQ and put extreme amounts of peaks somewhere. And here as well. With this thing. This melodic kind of effect. So next extra tip is to use heavy EQing when you're at sound design part. Sounding way different. And also remember to use the scale thing to make something more in scale like this. Right? EQing changes everything, so remember to do it. And after I've got this, I used my MIDI keyboard to play very wide MIDI like I have here, 1 octave and another octave almost here. And that's why you need MIDI keyboards, as we said already. Right? And in this specific example, I used notes that are kind of offbeat like this here. And if I turn off delay, you can hear it. Without delay, it doesn't get that much of a groove. So remember as well to use delays to create groove in your tracks. But as you can see here, there's also next extra pro tip from me. I had it originally like this. Not really groovy, and that's what I love to do with actually every element, not only percussion elements but also melodic elements and chords, for example. That works really good. Try to take your MIDI clip a little bit to the left, like a half beat for example, or even a quarter beat, and hear how it could sound. That works really good also with delays. And before. Right, this is really simple and straightforward. And after that, I thought that this could fit really nice into a techno track, but I didn't have time to make a techno track from scratch. So that's why templates come in place. Not necessarily your templates that you've already done, but here I took the PML Techno Amelie template. And I took only kick, bass, and percussion, I think. And also effects. And I dragged them to my track here. And that made me have an overview how this could sound if I made a techno track on it. After that, if I had some more time, I could get and change everything here or completely get rid of it and start it from scratch as I want. But I really like to use the templates as a starting point. So to recap, we had using random effects to create different sounds like we had here. Like this thing, because we use completely random presets of completely random audio effects. So this is how this came up to life, and I would have never thought of doing this. And it was made by happy accident, which will come into in next part. But we have using random effects. Then we had using very hard and harsh EQing to pump our sounds up. Then having delay to add groove to our tracks, and then pre-delaying the MIDI clip to create even more unimaginable groove into our tracks. Since I would personally not think of making this like this, but dragging it simply from right to left helped me coming up with that. Also, to add something from me personally, in my opinion, being professional in something doesn't mean knowing everything about something, like music production, for example, but being able to use everything that you know and not even using it properly, because I could just try add delay, try add harsh EQing, try dragging it from right to left, but using it in matter of remembering that you can use it. And what I mean is that people usually know about compression, EQ, reverb, sidechaining instruments to vocals, and more advanced stuff, but don't necessarily do it because of simply forgetting about using it. So in my opinion, professionalist is somebody that remembers to do all the things he knows about. So I would suggest you really writing down stuff that you already didn't know or know, from most important to less important, and have it near your production desk to remember about everything. Even if that sounds trivial, keep in mind that it's really important to do and remember about everything you've already learned, not only know about it. So using the techniques from this chapter in your unique way would be as simple as taking a sample that you like or have recorded or just simply chosen from here and apply random effects here. I don't want to do it again, but I encourage you to try it yourself because it really can surprise you. Maybe do it when you're bored or simply don't have inspiration to do music. Happy accidents, that's how we do it.